We got Marlon Moraes versus Cory Sandhagen coming up this Saturday. What an amazing bantamweight fight. Both of these two guys have one thing in common, and they've fought Aljamain Sterling. Now, Marlon Moraes knocked out Aljamain Sterling, and Cory Sandhagen lost by a quick submission to Aljamain Sterling. So, if you want to play the whole MMA math thing, you can do that, but that's not always the case in MMA. A matter of fact, I'd probably say that's most likely not the case usually. But I know a lot of people like to look into those kind of things to kind of see who they're looking at and who they want to pick and whatnot. So, I look into things like that, but I don't hold a lot of value in it. I hold more value in the stylistic matchup and what one guy's good at, one guy's bad at, and so forth and so on. So for me, this fight is about range when it comes to Cory Sandhagen. Range and pace. He wants to use pepper shots early on. Be very safe in the first round. I would say Marlon Moraes is probably the most dangerous bantamweight fighter in the first round. Very explosive. He's got a thick, short, strong frame. He throws switch kicks with crazy amounts of explosion and power, kind of similar to Edson Barboza. And if you get caught with something early on, it's big trouble. So you got to kind of play safe in the first round with Marlon Moraes, but you don't want to play it too slow because he'll start to take over. He'll start to land those switch kicks. He'll start to get inside and land those big hooks. For Sandhagen, I think it's a beautiful stylistic matchup as far as the way that he likes to move, his frame, his length, his reach. He's going to utilize his lateral movement. He's going to utilize his jab a lot. Keep Marlon Moraes at the end of his jab. Utilize his volume. Try to pepper him with just, 50-60% punches throughout the first round. Just a lot of movement and a lot of peppering. 1-2, 1-2-3, 1-1, 1-2-3-2. Just kind of move. Touch. Stay away from that big power. Marlon Moraes is going to have to get inside. He's going to have to close that distance. That's a given if he wants to land that big kick or that big punch. Marlon Moraes is not a heavy wrestling guy. I don't see him trying to pressure Sandhagen, cut him off on the cage, and do what Aljamain Sterling did to him. Just kind of run him over with grappling and take his back and submit him. I just don't see that happening. I see the fight taking place on the feet. And like I said earlier, it's just mostly about range. One thing we know about Marlon Moraes is he tends to fade in fights, and this is a 5-round fight. This is very important for this fight because in a 3-round fight, I would lean a little bit more to Moraes. But even in 3-round fights, Moraes tends to slow in the 3rd round. 5-round fights, we saw it with Cejudo. Cejudo took that damage early on, 1st, 2nd round. He took a lot of leg kicks, a lot of head kicks, and big power shots from Marlon Moraes. But once Marlon realized, wow, this guy's not going anywhere, I'm in trouble. Like, his cardio wasn't able to hold up for the later rounds and to keep up with the pace that he set early on. And when you can't do that and all you know is this one speed and this one explosive power of delivering punches and kicks, it's very hard to keep that up in the later rounds. And I think that's going to be the difference in this fight. I think that's where Cory Sandhagen's gonna prevail. It's going to be the 3rd, 4th, 5th round where he starts to take over, and maybe we see a circumstance if it goes to decision that Marlon wins the first 2 rounds and Sandhagen wins the last 3. Or maybe we see, Sandhagen start to take over and land bigger shots in the 3rd, 4th round and start to really hurt Moraes and tire him out, and we see Moraes fade. The thing about Moraes fading, we don't know if that was a straight cardio issue or if that was a nerve issue, and that was, the big stakes with, fighting for a world title. We really don't know what was in his head during that, and so you can only make assumptions. But to me, it was how much explosive power he utilizes on every single shot and trying to keep that up throughout the duration of the fight. It's very hard to do. So with that said, I think my early pick was Moraes, but now that I talk about it more and more, I'm going to have to go Sandhagen. I just feel like the fight will go a little bit longer, and Sandhagen's going to be a little bit harder to touch than I thought at first. He's a smart fighter, very cerebral fighter, so I'm going Sandhagen, and I'm going to take him by decision. Boom, baby.